Yeah, so I met Jesus. Yeah, I know there's going to be some people who say I didn't. You're probably going to get more than one mean message saying that that's not possible and I'm a liar and stuff, but whatever, believe whatever you want. I'm making this video because I really wanted to know what Jesus looked like. And I prayed many times asking him to let me see him. I just wanted to see what he looked like. That's it. And he granted my request. I'm no one special. I just asked many times. That's all. Uh, I don't consider myself a good Christian, whatever that is. Um, but I believe in the Lord very strongly. I would die before I renounce Jesus. But I rarely go to church. I don't really commune with Christians because most of them I don't think they really believe. Um, and some of them, most of them, kind of creep me out. I think they're weird. Um, but anyway, on to the dream. Yeah, I had a dream. There are people. Just one moment. I've heard many stories of people being in the presence of Jesus in visions and in real life, um, and they can't see his face. His face is so bright that it's obscured. It's like it hurts to look at him, or they can't look at him, or something like that. Um, for me, it was a dream, and somehow I was able to see his face. I don't know how that works, but I saw it. So here we go with the dream. Very short. Um, Dream starts with me walking toward the kitchen. I turn the corner and I see a man standing there with his back to me, and he's wearing a white hoodie, which is what prompted me to buy this white hoodie. And I thought it was weird, what's this guy standing in my kitchen? So this is a very, very vivid dream. It seemed like real life. So I walked in, past him into the kitchen to get something to eat, and I just turned and I looked at him and I said, "Who are you?" And he was looking down like this, and he looked up at me and he said, "Jesus." And I was like, "You really Jesus though?" And he looked at me like, well, I'll do my best recreation of how he looked at me. It was just that. He's kind of raising his eyebrows and like, really, dude? That was almost what his look said. It was like, really, dude? You asked me many, many times to meet me, see what I looked like, and here I am, and you're asking me if I'm me, your Lord? That's what I got out of it. That's what I got out of the look. But it was also a look of compassion. There was so much in that look. Compassion and love and sadness. Like he was kind of disappointed, but not really, because he knows who I am. I'm very skeptical. The Bible says an angel of darkness can appear as an angel of light, and I've suffered through a lot of spiritual warfare. I've had many dreams of demonic attacks, and some in real life, waking life. But so I'm very, very skeptical. So I'm when someone tells me, yeah, I'm Jesus, I'm not just gonna be like, oh, okay, you're Jesus, cool. No, I'm gonna think twice. Um, But when he looked at me, when he gave me that look, he stared into my eyes in such a way that he didn't need to say anything. I knew it was him. I knew. There was a knowing. There was no subliminal telepathic speech like a lot of people talk about in visions and stuff. I just knew that it was him. It wasn't a belief. I didn't believe or think it was him. I wasn't pretty sure it was him. I wasn't almost, I wasn't certain it was him. I knew it was him. It was a knowing. I knew that was Jesus. The person who was looking at me is Jesus. So that look went on for a few seconds, and once I knew it was him, I went, "Oh, cool! Now I can tell people I met Jesus." Dream over. Why would I say that? Why would I say, "Oh, cool! Now I can tell people I met Jesus"? What? That's not why I wanted to see him. I just wanted to see him because I love him. He's my Lord and Savior, and I don't even know what he looks like. Or I didn't. He was like this nebulous idea to me, this abstraction. I wanted to know. I wanted to know who the greatest person in existence is. I want to know what he looks like. I want to be able to picture him in my mind when I pray to him. And my request was granted. And I thought that when that dream ended, that he was angry at me. I thought that was the wrong thing to say. And so, dream over. That's all you get. You said the wrong thing. You had the incorrect intent. I didn't show you myself so that you can brag to others you met Jesus. So, dream's over. That's done. That's what I was thinking for a while. And for a while, in the dream, I knew it was him. But after I woke up, I was thinking, like, was that really Jesus, though? And so I wrestled with that for a little while. This was a couple of months ago that this happened. And it occurred to me recently. I mean, I was pretty certain in waking life. In the dream, I knew it was him. But in waking life, I was, there's always doubt. So I was thinking, I'm really certain it's him, but there's this shred of doubt. So I wrestled, and it occurred to me a few days ago. He said one word to me, his name, Jesus. Demons hate that. Demons can't tolerate you speaking that name. They're not even going to think about saying it. A fallen angel, they're not going to think about saying that. Fallen angels have completely rejected God. They hate Jesus. Fallen angels, they can't tolerate saying that name. There's no way. I think that's why he said only his name to me. To prove to me that it is him. To get rid of that waking life doubt that I have. It took me a while to figure it out, but it just occurred to me one day. Because I've had dreams of spiritual attacks, demonic attacks, where the only thing that saved me was speaking his name. And when you speak the name Jesus, it's like punching them in the stomach. And when you shout it, it's like they get hit by a truck. Like I saw one get launched across the room when I shouted Jesus. They cannot tolerate that name. It hurts them. So that was Jesus. I met him. Now I'm going to tell you what he looks like. Oh, wait. Hold on one moment. I'm pretty certain why I said, "Oh, cool, now I can tell people I met Jesus." That didn't come from me, I don't think, because that's not something I would say in the presence of Jesus Christ. I think he made me say that so that I know what he wants me to do. He wants me to tell you what he looks like. Now I'm going to do that. I think he gave me that dream, well, one, to answer my request, but to tell people who want to know. So this is what he looks like. I had no idea it was Jesus Christ when I looked at him. I thought he was some kind of like hipster, emo guy. You know, he looked kind of cool. You know, he had his hood up. He was wearing a white hoodie like this. He had his hood up. There was no Champion logo here. You know, none of that stuff. And he was standing there with his hands in his little pouch in the front, so I couldn't see if he had any holes in his hands or wrists or whatever. But he was just sort of chilling there, standing there, looking down, and came around to the front and looked at him. And it was a man with, well, first off, he wasn't tall. He was like about 5'6", approximately 130 pounds. He was not a big dude. And he was not what an American like myself would consider as classically handsome. Kind of strange looking by our standards, but he was handsome in his own way, in a different way. He was handsome, or is handsome. I'm like shaking thinking about this. He he was a interesting looking man. He had light skin. I've got very light skin, but his skin it's like a light olive color, like Middle Eastern. Almost like he had a tan, but not. That's just the way his skin is. It's almost light like a white man, but not quite that light. There was like a little muted olive hue in there. Like when I think of the way like an Iraqi looks like, it's about that skin tone, but a little bit lighter. Of course, they don't all have the same skin tone, so I guess use your imagination. I didn't take a picture. So he had, I don't really remember his eyebrows so much, which is a funny thing. But he had long hair. I could tell even with his hood up, he had long hair. There wasn't much showing, but it was coming down. I could see. Brown hair, brown beard. I technically have brown hair and a brown beard, but it's so dark it looks black. With him, it was brown. I wouldn't say light brown. I wouldn't say dark brown. It was just brown, medium brown. Very soft color. And his beard it wasn't long and thick and coarse like mine. Like I got a rough beard. He had the same kind of configuration, but it kind of came down along his jawline. It wasn't quite as, it wasn't wide like this. It came down along his jawline, and he had this same mustache style coming down. Your standard beard that you would see in any depiction of him that you've seen, pretty much. And it was, I'd say, I got a long beard. This is like 3.5 inches long. His beard is like an inch long or so. and there was no stubble. There was no stubble that I could discern. It was like it just grows that way naturally. Like he doesn't need to trim it and shape it at all. It just grows that way naturally. And it was not really thick. Like you can't even see my skin under this. You could see his skin through his. It wasn't patchy. It wasn't thick. It wasn't thin. It was just sort of medium. And it looked really, really soft. Like if you touched it, it would be incredibly soft. He had thin lips. Not extremely thin, but I would describe them as thin. His nose was, it was narrow. And it had, from what I could tell, it was relatively straight bridge. And it kind of hooked downward just a little bit, just barely discernibly hooking downward. And it came to, like I said, it was very thin, and not very thin, but it was thin. And it came to a bit of a point. I wouldn't say he exactly had a pointy nose, but it was kind of pointy, a little bit. It was kind of, I wouldn't call it delicate either. It was manly. Not extremely manly. I wouldn't say he was like a manly looking dude, but he wasn't a weak looking, feminine guy either. That's about it for his face aside from his eyes. Am I missing anything? I don't really remember any cheekbones. I wasn't really paying attention to his facial structure. The things that really stuck out were his nose, his beard, and his eyes. Don't really remember his eyebrows. They're probably a lot like mine. I mean, most eyebrows are pretty similar, I guess. They weren't, one thing I can tell you, they weren't like big caterpillar eyebrows. They weren't like big like crescent-shaped caterpillar eyebrows. It definitely wasn't that. They weren't goofy looking. Otherwise, they would have stuck out in my mind. His eyes. This is where it really gets interesting. The man's eyes. They were blue, but not like a blue you've ever seen. They were so complex and intricate. There were so many little specks of shimmering white and diamond blue and deep blue and almost hues of purple. Like they were like shimmering. His eyes weren't glowing, but it was like there was so much in there. Like the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? When I looked at his eyes, it was like, well, I knew he was God. I knew he was Jesus. I knew he was God in the flesh. I knew. His eyes, it was like looking into the entire universe. Like if you took the entire universe and compressed it down to something the size of an eye. It was like, that's the best I can describe. There was so much in there. And around his eyes, his eyelids, he had, I wouldn't say bags under his eyes, but he looked tired and weary and worried and sad. he looked, I mean, just imagine what a loving mother would look like if she didn't know where her son was, but she knew that he was out doing heroin and wasn't sure if he was going to live or die. Like, I don't want to say broken, but I mean, just imagine having 7 billion children, and you know that they're all suffering, and you don't know if they're all going to be okay. I mean, of course he knows, because he knows everything. That's the best I can describe. I mean, literally the weight of the world, I could see in his eyes. He looked so... weary is the best word. But not like it was breaking him. Not like he couldn't take it. Just sad that his children are sad. You know, I heard once that a parent can only be as happy as their saddest child. That's pretty much what's going on there, I think. You got 7 billion people, and very few of them are doing okay. And I could just see the weight of the world in his eyes. But there was also a strength there, like just, it's like a compassion and a sadness, but a strength, knowing that everything is as it should be, and everything is going to be as it should be in the end. Everything's going to be okay. So that's about it. Yeah, I met Jesus. Ask him yourself. Just keep asking him. If you really want to meet him, I'm pretty certain he'll show himself to you. Well, I hope to see you all in heaven soon, because he's going to be back pretty soon, guys. See ya. Okay, so I'm back. Kind of missed a couple important details. Sorry. His age. He appeared to me. Obviously, I know he was 33 when he died, but... Or when he... Well, he did die. He just came back to life. But when I looked at him, before I knew it was Jesus, he looked to me like he was in his early 30s, late 20s. You know, like 28 to 33, around there. His beard, it wasn't straight. It kind of curled inward. Each hair kind of, it curled inward toward his skin. So it had I think that's what gave it such a soft appearance. He was he kind of looked, like I said, he looked Arabic, Middle Eastern-ish, but not quite. He was, if I had to just use one word to describe him, it would be Hebrew. He looked Hebrew to me. Which makes sense. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard don't think the Bible says that Jesus was Hebrew. Maybe it does. Oh yeah, I think maybe it does. But it just makes perfect sense that he would be Hebrew. What else? His jaw, his chin and his jaw. He did not have there are a lot of depictions of Jesus where he has well, first off, he looks like a white guy. No, he's not an Anglo-Saxon white guy. Like I said, he's Hebrew, but a lot of those depictions, he has a fairly wide jaw. Not like a iron jaw or anything, but fairly wide. His jaw is kind of narrow. I wouldn't say it was I wouldn't describe. Oh, excuse me. I wouldn't describe it as a narrow jaw, but it was fairly narrow. And his chin didn't exactly come to a point, but it was kind of pointy. His whole face kind of it was kind of pointy. He had, a slightly pointy, slightly downturned nose, which was straight. It just had a pointy appearance, and with thin lips and a jaw that kind of came to a point. I feel like it's giving you the wrong idea with that description. But that's the best way to describe it. And it makes it sound like he's not a good-looking guy, but he was a really good-looking guy. Yeah, and he looked cool. Like, he looked like he fit right in with this time period. It's not like he's stuck back in 2,000 years ago, Like I said, he was wearing a white hoodie. I don't remember what kind of pants he was wearing or what he was wearing on his feet, but he looked up to date. He looked cool. He looked handsome. But eyes like no other. Eyes like no other man. Not even close. Eyes that pierce your soul. When I think about the way he looked at me, sometimes I still cry, but for the first week, every time I thought about him looking at me with those eyes when he tilted his head, I cried, I wept. He was an amazing looking man. Is an amazing looking man. And I don't think I left anything out that time. So hopefully I don't have to come back and tell you anymore. But if anyone has any questions, I will do my best to answer them. Maybe I left something out. Maybe there's a question you have that I didn't think of that I can answer. So go ahead and ask. Maybe I'll make more videos in the future. I don't know. I've got a lot more stories. Had a lot of weird things happen. A lot of spiritual stuff happen. Yeah, ask away. See ya.